Hey everybody, John here. So I'm going to make a quick video about iPods for audiophiles. And I'm going to try to answer every question that I've asked in the last 2 or 3 weeks and provide answers to things that people may be searching on. So, uh, a little review. We're talking about the Ipod Classic. Okay, these are the things that were available and pretty expensive about 20 years ago, 20 or 15 years ago. You can ask yourself, why does John own 6 of these? And the reason is because I picked them up broken on eBay for between 15 and 30 bucks, and then I fixed them, and I love them. So I have many of them, and each one serves a different purpose. But let's review this one, and this one quickly is an iPod 5. Now, how can I tell that? I go down to settings, and in settings in the about menu, if you go down here, it says MA147LL. Okay, so that makes it a 5 series. Now the question then is, what series? What does that mean within the 5 series, John? And then the next thing you want to do is go back and go up to music. If you had a search button here, a search option down at the very bottom, that would actually mean this is a 5.5, and that is really important because the 5.5 has a DAC made by Wolfson. Okay, not all the iPods have DACs that are made by Wolfson, and a DAC is a digital analog converter, and Wolfson makes a real quality one. If you're watching this video, you're already probably aware of what I'm talking about. So how do you differentiate? Like I said, this one does not have a Wolfson DAC. Doesn't mean that this thing is a piece of crap. It's got 256 gigs of memory. It's got the updated, the larger battery. I call this my everything iPod. Okay. Now with this thing, what I've done in the past is attached this external USB connector via the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack out, and then I will mate this up to some external speakers that I have over there, and we're at a campground or something. It works great to provide music when we're outside. The problem is that I am reliant on the battery on this thing. So this thing battery can go for 24 hours straight. This thing battery goes for maybe an hour, hour and a half or two. So this was sort of a bummer. What is an option, you say, John? It's the Nokia. What the heck model is it? I can't remember. I think it's the 10. Anyway, this dongle fits up in underneath in the 30-pin connector. This is a Bluetooth transmitter. So this will interface with any Bluetooth device you have. Now the interesting thing about this, let me put this down, is that this will only address one device, whereas this will address 2 devices, but in mono, not in stereo. So it's addressing 2 devices the same way. This will address one device in stereo. So what that means is, for example, I've got a pair of Walker noise canceling headphones that have Bluetooth associated with them. If and when I pair this, all of this, to my Walker, I get stereo headphone, stereo music while cutting the grass and whatnot, while at the same time having noise cancellation, which is kind of weird to be able to hear music like it's, real good, but without hearing the lawnmower engine. It's kind of weird. Anyway, so there's that. That's the 5 series. And what do I do with the 5 series? Like I said, I hook this up to the car stereo up front, and I will hang this from the cigarette lighter or the rear view mirror with the dongle and connect to the radio that way. I don't do any of the cords because when I tried to get involved with the cords way back when, I think it was just seeing the thing as a hard drive, and I've got just over 20,000 songs on that, so it was taking a long time to index that every time I started the vehicle. So, next thing on the agenda is this. This is my, I made this one last week. Let me fix that. Again, it's a 5. It's a 5 series. We go into settings, go up to about, and this one is an MA444LL. Now, what does that mean? That means that when we go back and go under music, you see this one has a search function. So this is a 5.5, and you can also tell the search function is kind of rudimentary. It's just a bunch of letters in 2 rows along the bottom that you can sort of zoom around through and pick. But this is a 5.5 series. Now what that means is that this has the Wolfson DAC, and that's pretty cool. So I wouldn't waste something like this by hooking it up to the car radio, because again, even though it'll be Wolfson DAC out by way of the 30-pin Bluetooth connector, it's still going over the air, and it's not going to be a perfect sound, if you will. So what I would do with this is I have this one with some of my FLAC files on it, and I will boot this thing into Rockbox and listen to my FLAC files on Rockbox. See, it just came up in Rockbox. That out through the headphone jack. So I'm getting lossless sound this way with headphones, and this is very good. I like this. This is a good option, good in your pocket option. In fact, when I drive around in a little while in the golf cart, I'm going to be using this option. Okay, so again, this one has it's been hacked. It's got 256 gigs of memory, and it's got the giant 30 milliamp battery. What does that look like? That looks like this. Let me pull it out. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. And basically, that takes up the entire back of the unit inside. You can find videos about how to do all this stuff online. Now, how did I get here? Well, one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to hook up an iPod to an external DAC amp. And so I went out and I bought a FIIO BTR5. It's a BTR5-2021. This is cutting edge technology right here. And this does not work for a damn for taking sound out of an iPod. And I tried many a combination of many different things. And as far as a direct wire to DAC from the iPod connection, it doesn't work. You can't go into the bottom, or can't come out of the bottom of the iPod. You can go out the top, which basically means you're just taking the analog signal and running it through an amp and doing that. But you are not going to be able to bypass the DAC in the iPod and utilize the DAC in this. And when I contacted FIIO tech support, they made it sound like actually it was a question of the cable that prevented you from doing that. And I guess maybe the pinouts or whatever going into the unit just doesn't provide the digital data that they're looking for. So I was like, fuck, I guess that's the end of the road for that. But when I was pursuing this, somebody put me on to this, and this thing is the bomb. Okay, this is an OPPO. Well, actually, this is an OPPO HE-2. Right? Yeah. Now, or it could be an HA. All right, don't get in my face about that. I can't remember exactly, but it's the H. Let's go with the HE-2. Now, this one, they made 2 series of this, okay? This one is the first version, the -2. They made a -2 -SE. Now, that SE will not work with an iPod, okay? It'll work, I guess, with the later Touch series iPods, but not the Classics, okay? Now, here's the other thing about it. If you're going to go this route, and this OPPO is an external DAC and an external amp. And this OPPO is about, I don't know, 5 years old, maybe a little older. When this was made, when this was new, this was $600. But I found mine essentially new on eBay for $150. So I'm loving that. And what this thing does is it'll take audio into any one of 3 ports, into the 3.5 millimeter input up here, into the USB-C here, and into the USB-A there. Now, I could go audio out from a iPod and into the input, and that would just be basically an analog, and I could amplify that and take it out through the headphones, and that would be pretty good. That would be on par with one of the other things I just showed you. But I can take digital out of the 30 pin and put it up here into the USB, and that is completely different. That is a completely different experience. Now, let me tell you, when you, I don't have them here, they're over there, and I'm not going to do a salmon dive to get them, but I've got a pair of AKG studio grade monitor headphones, the big ones with the wires and all that sort of shit across the top, and a wire, okay? When you plug those into the audio out and have this thing set up to go from 30 pin digital into here, I don't want to sound like a music snob. I'm certainly not a wine snob, all right? And so I don't describe wine. I don't sit around and swirl it and sniff it and that sort of crap and describe it as having a nutty flavor or whatever. But I will tell you, let me just say this. With this setup and the AKG headphones, the room where the music was produced sounds bigger, if that makes sense. And by that I mean, a lot of times, like if I was listening on, let's say, my 5 series over there with just a pair of headphones, the music seems very right here. It's all right there. With the Wolfson DAC and a pair of headphones, even with the pair of AKGs, the music sounds right here, okay? But it's funny, I don't know how to describe it. I guess I'm sounding like an idiot, but the spatiality, if that's actually a word, of this setup makes it sound like the drum set's over there. You can place things in the recording environment in a way that you can't really appreciate with the other stuff. Now, that's only with like sort of newer, modern digital recordings. If you were to listen to a copy of Help by the Beatles, I would think that regardless of what you were listening to, it would all pretty much be right here. But like I said, if you went out and listened to something that was really heavy on the digital side, a synthesizer intense band like Kraftwerk, German band, that's incredible. That's all I can tell you. Anyway, so then there was some question as to, okay, I got this set up. Now, do I have to use the stock original Apple charged cord? Because this is like a $15 to $30 item, depending upon where you get it. And like, people are like, fuck, I lost this. Or how do I replace this? Or I don't want to associate just this with just this when I have other items that need this. But no, I can tell you that this setup will run with a Wang brand 30 pin adapter. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, my setup will be, where is it? Hang on. Oh, my setup's going to be this. And it's funny, I told you, I've got a lot of them. I've already got a 6. Oh, and that's the other thing I should mention. This external DAC amp by OPPO will only work with an iPod 6 or 7. So it's not going to mate up to those other two that I showed you earlier. So I've got a spare 6, and it's going to go into my little cell phone holder. The 6 will go up front. The external DAC will go in back, and I will run a little cable up and around and pull the headphone out the side. That will be phenomenal sound. Anyway, that is about all I know, and that is about all I can tell you at this moment. I probably know a little more, which I'm forgetting about. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And other than that, I gotta get to work. Talk to you later. John out.